Each and every one of us have naysayers. People that when we share our big goals or start working towards them, they say, hey, that's too big. Hey, you don't want to do that. Hey, that's not going to work out. The reality is that it will work out unless you listen to their advice. Sometimes these people are coming from a place of love and concern, right? They really care for you. Other times they're coming from a place of jealousy. Regardless of where it's coming from, you need to be very particular about auditing those voices and ensuring that you're filling your mind and your life with people that are not naysayers. This episode with Nathan Jones, somebody who's overcome an immense amount of resistance and naysayers in his life, is going to share with us tips and tactics and tricks to overcoming the naysayers in your life. Enjoy this episode. It is going to help you to think bigger, no doubt. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. I'm here today to help you overcome the naysayers. We all have them. We're going to go into depth on that. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to remind you that inside of the closed Facebook group called Think Bigger Real Estate is where we put very tactical takeaways from each and every episode. Things that allow you to easily take what you're hearing, what you're learning, and implement it right away. So again, if you're not yet a member of the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook, go request access to join. Today's guest is a very special man. His name is Nathan Jones. He's out of the Portland market. He's with Berkshire Hathaway. He's been in the business for 27 years. That says a lot. Not many agents can say that. And I'm fortunate to get to know Nathan and hear his story. It's going to inspire you, and it's going to give you very tactical takeaways, again, for overcoming the naysayers. So Nathan Jones, thank you for coming on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show today.
Good morning, Justin. Thanks for having me. Good to be here, buddy.
Yeah, good morning. So Nathan and I had this interesting exchange a couple of weeks ago, and he posed the question. He said, "What do you do when people?" And it was kind of more of a rhetorical question because he's dealt with this. What do you do when people say your goals are too big? So that's, again, today's topic. We've all probably had goals where we've kind of put something out there, and we've either heard people say that's not going to work, or we've felt people say that's not going to work, right? So Nathan, talk to us a little bit about that. Again, having just been in the business, produced at a high level for 27 years, again, it says a lot about your ability to overcome some naysayers. Talk to us a little bit about maybe kind of when you first kind of felt people. Was it when you first got involved in the business, first starting off, and people were like, "You can't be a real estate agent. What are you doing?"
You kidding? Well, my pops, I'm an ex-tennis pro, by the way. So when I came out of college, and I was actually I coached tennis after I got off tour. And my girlfriend at the time, she said, "Hey man, you got to make more money or you can't live here," right? So that's how I got into real estate. My girlfriend was going to kick me out of the house because she was a realtor at the time.
Okay.
So anyway, so I get into the business, and I had all these, everybody has these things in their head about what it's like to be a realtor before you actually do the job. And I just had a couple ideas and got my license. My dad thought I was crazy because it's commission only. It's not a 9 to 5 days a week, take the weekends off kind of gig. But I always wanted to start my own business. So it was a great business to get started because you didn't have to have a lot of capital. So anyway, but my first ideas that I had, because I've always been kind of a maybe over the top kind of person for goals anyway. And right off the bat, people are like, "You can't do that. What are you talking about? Like you can't do that. That's stupid. Just go start here, start small, be small, start small, stay small, and grow." And I'm like, why can't you go big right off the top? And I'm being cryptic right now, so I can go into the story. But so when you sent that thing out a couple weeks ago, I said, man, the topic should be how to, if you have a big goal, don't let somebody else even get in your head at all about it. It can't be done.
So I want to interrupt you for just a second because your own dad, right? No, your dad,
my own father, yes.
I would imagine your dad doesn't have malintent for you. My guess is he wants the best for you. And so sometimes this advice when people are getting started in real estate or really trying to grow their business, they're not trying to hold you back necessarily. I think some are, right? But I would imagine that those people that love us the most, probably the people that we listen to the most, say things like that because they want to protect us, right?
Yes.
You said something really interesting, Nathan, just a few minutes ago before we started, which was, what are they really saying at that point? Are they really talking about you at that moment, or are they talking about someone else?
Are they talking about them?
Okay.
So when somebody tells me something, and we both learned this, they're not talking to me. See, I used to think they're talking to me. They're talking to themselves, but they don't know it, right? They're actually limiting. They're speaking their limited beliefs or views and whatever they're talking about. So that's why it's so critical. And we talked about this. It's critical to just be careful who you're hanging out with. You can have different people you hang out with for different things, right? But for me in business, there's no way I'm hanging out with. I don't want to use the word small-minded, or small thinking, but I need big thinking. I mean, I want to hang around people that think bigger than I do.
Yeah.
And that's because it gets done every day. I mean, people do big stuff all the time. You just got to find them, right, and hang out with them.
That's such
It's
a
so
powerful
simple.
concept, right? Is that it's being done all around us, right?
Yes.
And I like to call this almost like an environmental audit. Now, when people think of environmental audit, it's like, okay, let's get rid of like carbon emissions. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the environment that you live in, like cleaning that, the conversations that are happening around you, being hyper aware of what that's doing to your future possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Are they expanding because of the conversations you're in, or are they shrinking because of the ones you're in? If they're shrinking and the people around you are doing this in a way that causes you to be, have smaller thinking, then at that point, you need to like rethink your conversations, right? You need to rethink the people that you're around.
How about you have to think about what you're thinking about, and all the time, literally.
Yeah, great point. So back to your story. I totally interjected, threw us off course, but I had to make that point that even your own father, right, who was again, I'm sure your biggest supporter, your biggest fan, was saying, Nathan, please, man, don't do this, right?
By the way, my father had a friend. He had one of his best friends. In Justin, I was telling the story a little bit earlier about he started calling me the scam man, because for these guys looking at, when you're a real estate guy, basically because you're a sales guy, right? Salesman, you're a scam man anyway. It doesn't matter what you're selling. So one of my dad's best friends calling me scam man right off the top. So and these are guys that I looked up to, by the way, and just because I was a young guy, and these guys were, my pops and this guy were both very successful in the fields that they were in. So I listened to them, and they were, I won't say mentors, but based upon their success, I thought I should listen. Anyway, the point was, there was a couple things I wanted to do, and I went and I still stayed in real estate, but I went a different direction. And I look back now, and I'm telling you, and I've told you this before, Justin, you laugh, I would have airplane money right now. If I would have stuck to it, I would have airplane money. I'm still working on the airplane.
I love it. I've never heard it said that way. I love that, airplane money.
Yeah, it takes, to have airplane money, as far as net worth, it's, you need several millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it is what it is. And now I'm just doing what I do, but I still have those thoughts, though. They still creep in there. These kind of conversations help to with mindset. It helps squash those feelings, or not feelings, but the thoughts when they come up. And the more conversations like this that I have, I know, and this is it's directly correlated to how many deals I'm going to do this year. So I go to a lot of seminars, talk to a lot of people, or in the business and on the business. Yeah. It equates more transactions is more money.
So yeah, you pointed that out before, is that there's a direct correlation when you sign up to say, I'm going to go to a seminar, whether it be a Buffini or a Tom Ferry or a whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You like mark out the year in advance. You can say, okay, I'm going to go to, twice a year or once every quarter. Yes. And I'm going to purposely, intentionally have conversations with these people while avoiding conversations with these people. You can almost predict or project that you're going to have a good year, right? You're going to have a strong year. And it's not about what's happening in the economy or in the market, and right? I mean, that has some correlation, but ultimately the way we think, right? We think bigger, we're going to produce bigger. Like there's just a direct correlation that we can't ignore.
Let me give you an example. I've always shake my head, and I know why, but when the economy is actually down, I always have the biggest years I've ever had in a down that's because people, the rest of the market quits. I mean, right now, I mean, everybody and their mother wants to be a real estate agent because home sale for a lot, I mean, the real estate in general is pretty good. And so everybody wants in, but when stuff's not selling and the economy's down, everybody drops out, and there's more business when there's not as much competition.
Yeah.
Now you still have to be good at what you do, but so it's always about what's going on in my head about how do I see it? Because we look at the same thing, we can describe that. We're not going to have the same description, right? Maybe close, but not really. And so whatever is happening, I got to focus on what I need to do. I can't worry about, what Billy Bob's doing. He sold more homes than I did last year. So what? Good for that person. I just have to focus on what are we talked about the whole thing. That's how we started this. The goal. Let anybody get in the way of that. And your goal is your goal. My goal is my goal, and that's all I'm worried about.
So I heard a quote. Was it yesterday?
Keep it simple. Yeah.
I think it was yesterday. The fastest way to lose everything is to start comparing yourself to other people.
Man, I've never heard that. I'm going to write that down.
Because again, I mean, I could look around and I'm like, man, I've been so blessed. I have so much. And then I look at someone else and I'm like, man, I suck. Right. And I think if that's done in a way where it's like, I can do better and it excites me to go do more, be more, then great. But in most cases, that comparison doesn't create that. Like oftentimes I would say that it actually causes us to shrink our thinking and think less about ourselves. And I think that's an important way to look at it, right? Is if you're looking at other people and it's inspiring you to do more and you're like, man, if they can do it, I can do it. That's exciting. Then good, keep doing that. But if it's like, man, I can never reach that. Then all of a sudden your thinking is shrinking and your results are going to be following suit, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me piggyback back with the item number 3 with that thought is like, are you, I'm talking to myself. Are you jealous a little bit? Are you like, man, I can't believe that person's there. I can't believe I don't have that. I should have that. Why do they have that? I should be able to have that.
Yeah.
I'm jealous because they did that or have that or whatever. Yeah, all these thoughts are like, they're crazy, but that's, if you don't know these questions to ask, you just think people just stay in their head. And I'm making an overall blanket statement, but people are all in their heads all the time.
Yeah.
They just don't know.
Yeah, it's so true. And we're almost blind to the fact of why our results are a certain way. When if we were to go back and kind of audit our thinking and our environment and our circumstances and how we're talking to ourselves, right? Because we've talked a lot about like being around people that are speaking us up, right? And are having confidence in us. When you start to realize that one of the biggest perpetrators of that is ourselves, right? How we're talking to ourselves. All of a sudden it starts to cause us to think and look differently and say, okay, how do I fix that? Because that's the voice I'm really listening to is my own, right?
Yeah. And I'm personally, I'm blessed because I got to know about the conversation that we're having, and it's from being in sales specifically, and it's specifically from, and I'll do a shout out for the Mike Ferry organization. There's a lot of great coaching companies. That's by being coached and mentored early on, this is how we got on the path. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe could have got on in a different way, but I don't know. I don't know if people that I around, like my golf buddies, don't pay attention to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just fortunate because without changing my mindset, there's no way I could have produced what I was doing on the way I used to.
Yeah. Let's move into another topic now that's a sensitive one in America right now. Obviously,
yes.
You're a man of color. You live in a very white state. Like let's be honest. Like Oregon is one of the whitest states. Yes. And, to me, I think it just baffles me that we live in the time that we do, and people would actually make a judgment based on who they want to work with, based on the pigment in their skin. Like it's just like so foreign to me. I'm just like, what? Wait, what? That's a thing? And it is a thing. It is a thing. Tell us your experience, Nathan. I know you had shared with me some of your experience that, go ahead.
Sure. I will. I call it the look. So the look is, if you close your eyes right now and listen to me speak, I speak a certain way. And so, and my claim to fame, by the way, is I did a lot of expired column and for sale by owners, and I still do that every day, even in 30 years in the business. But when I call you and I sound like this, people in their heads, because it's over the phone, that they have a certain um, attachment to the voice. Okay, so when I get to the door, I call it the look. So there's a look up, kind of like that, and it can go both. It can go two ways. It goes, well, and you don't look like the way that the voice goes with. That's cool. And then there's about in the last couple of years, it's probably about every maybe 70 to 90 appointments. I will literally get somebody that won't. I can't go into the house. They're not letting me into the house, and that's not a joke. And I remember early in the 90s, man, it happened. It actually happened a lot. I started I'm in Portland Metro Market, so this certain part of town. I'd go to people's houses. I mean, actually, I'd be on the phone making an appointment, and I had one guy tell me the reason they're moving because there was too many minorities moving into the neighborhood. That's why they were moving out of the neighborhood. This is a true conversation. I opened the guy's door. Anyway, that was one listing that I got to get. So two takeaways from this is I can have fear about that all day, right? So what am I not going to do my job anymore, or I can just not worry about it, and it is what it is. Now it's just a numbers game, and maybe some people don't want to list with me because I'm not a woman. Who knows? I mean, it could be anything. It's none of my business anymore to worry about what other people are going to think. It's my job to just show up and be ready, be sharp, and go get my listings off the appointment.
Nathan, I think what you said right there is profound for anybody, right? Which is, I don't have the right, and I don't remember exactly how you said it. It's not my responsibility to determine how other people are going to react to me, how other people are going to respond, what they're going to do. But I have the responsibility to decide how I'm going to respond to that, right? Which is like, look, if you're so small thinking that the pigment in my skin bothers you, then I'm going to choose not to spend time around you, right? No ill feeling. It's just like, we're not a match, right? Like, obviously you're like, we're in totally different places. And I think that's powerful. Cause again, whether people that are listening to this, right, are people of color or are of a different gender or of a whatever, right?
That's what we're talking about. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just an excuse in your head to not be your true authentic, get to your true authentic self. But that's fear, and just stop it. Easy to say, hard to do.
Right. Yeah. So you've overcome that, right? Because you have somebody that turns you away at the door that seems pretty obvious that it's because of the color of your skin. That probably goes through your head at other times, right? And it sounds like one way that you've overcome that is just to be like, you know what? Next, right? I'm not going to worry. Like, it's like they get the freedom to think how they want to think, right? And I don't agree with it whatsoever, but I'm not going to let that small-minded person slow me down in moving towards my big goals. Is there anything else that you would recommend to people who have experienced that because of the color of their skin, because of some other reason?
I would, okay. At the end of the day, that's part of the cliche. I, in my head, I learned this from coaching, is we talk about all these things that could go on, but sometimes it's not the color of my skin. Sometimes it's, man, they didn't like my tie. I don't know. I actually don't know. And at the end of the day, I'm making all this stuff up, just telling it to you. That's what it felt like, but I don't really know. I didn't get to ask. You know what I mean? So now my attitude now is, and I'm not kidding, my attitude is, Justin, when I come to your house, I'm going to ask my questions, and I'm going to determine, do I want to take your listing? It's not up to you. It's up to me, period. In the story. Now, obviously, sometimes that's not how it works out, but that's my attitude. Yeah. And if I don't, it's kind of like as an ex-professional athlete, Tony, if you don't have a mindset of, I'm going to kick your butt, you're going to get your butt kicked. How's that?
Yeah.
That makes any kind of. So I'm going in there to win. Mm-hmm. I'm going to win.
Well, that's a powerful place to come from, right? Is it, look, they can't take it away from me. Like, I'm going to decide. I've got the skills to help them at the highest level.
Yeah.
And I'm interviewing them to see if they're a family or, you know, an individual that I'm
Yeah.
going to invest my time into and my expertise into to help them. I'm either going to help them or I'm not going to help them.
Yes.
You know, and we'll decide that as we meet to see if it's the right fit. It's powerful. And I think when you come in with that abundant mentality of like I'm going to see if these are people that I want to work with, it really changes it, doesn't it? You feel less weak, more strong. Like you said, you feel like you're in control,
Yes.
like it's your business, and you're not hoping that somebody comes and saves your
Yeah.
business and gives you a listing, you know, and gives you a kind of a charitable handout in the form of their listing. Like, no, like this is, it's you're choosing to invest your time in that, you know, individual or
Yeah.
family or not. It's great. It's great perspective. I love that. It really empowers people. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. It's like you said, the results that we get are directly tied to the thoughts that we're having, right? And we
Oh, yeah.
will always have naysayers, right? For
Yes.
some, those naysayers are going to be stronger because of whatever, right? Because of some situation, some you know, circumstance, right? Like it's that's just a reality. Is that not everybody starts from this, you know, from the same place, right?
Right.
In fact, the gal that I had on just a few weeks ago, she came from, she was a teenage mom, and she had come from a family who was just broken in every sense of the word, right?
Mm.
And everybody expected her to just be a product of the system. She was raising her siblings because her mom was drugged out. And, you know, you think about that disadvantage. You think about just some of the things that people go through, right? Nobody has a perfect start. And oftentimes if they do have a perfect start, they aren't actually strong enough to go do anything because it's always been perfect, right?
Right.
And they don't actually develop the muscles and the strength to do anything great because it's always kind of been, you know, handed to them. So again, I would encourage anybody that's listening to this, if you feel like you're at a disadvantage, maybe because you're new, or maybe because you're old, or maybe because you're young, or because you're a female, or because you're a person of color, whatever, right? The advice that I'm hearing from you, Nathan, is like, you can't control where you start from, but you can control where you end up. And where you end up has a lot to do with the way that you think, the people that you surround yourself with, and the environment that you create around yourself, and the activities that you go do in spite of the disadvantages, right?
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Powerful
Well
stuff.
said. Well said.
Thank you. All right, let's end with the signature question, Nathan. We've already kind of talked about this topic, but it's one that's my passion, and it's this: you're a big thinker, right? You've proven that for 27 years now, right? And in overcoming naysayers, you've proven that. What does Nathan Jones do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does that look like for you?
Gosh, it means read as much. I read. I read Dune like at least once a year. I'm a science fiction geek. But I try to read, and I literally, it's going to events. For me, it's Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry. Those are my kind of coaching guru guys. Try to go to as many events as possible here. So minimum of 4. And then in between those, I'm meeting other agents that actually, I look at who's selling more than me. Actually, who's selling less than me that does it in less time, who's more efficient. So just talk to a lot of people, see what people are doing in the industry to have a better business.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's kind of simple, but
that's awesome. Yeah. And oftentimes
because I mean, I'm not, I always, people go, well, you're pretty smart. And I go, yeah, but I don't think I'm very smart. I've never really made up stuff that I do as far as in the business. I've kind of stolen everything from other people because they've already done it, right? Been there. So it's, just hang around people doing more. That will help you support your goals and your thinking. If somebody's going to tell you your thoughts aren't correct as far as things you want to accomplish, then man, that's just the wrong people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to be negative, but so be positive. To end it positively, hang around people that are like-minded.
Yeah. And
hard to do, man. It's hard.
Yeah, it can be, right? Because you end up having people that you really enjoy being around, but you start to realize that they're a drag on where you want to go, right? Their small things is impacting you.
Yeah.
Nathan, I want to thank you so much for everything you've contributed, for your willingness to come on and share and be super vulnerable, right? Share about your story, your experiences. I know it's impacted me, and I'm sure it's impacted a lot of other people. I'm excited to get this episode out, at a time when, we all need to hear good mindset stuff, right? Help us to kind of gain control in a year where we feel like we're not in control of much, right? Like we all need to realize that ultimately we're in control of our own mind and the environment that we put ourselves in, and that will have the greatest impact upon our outcome over and above everything else that's going on. So thank you so much, my friend. It's been a pleasure. And I want to remind everybody that's listening here today, these 3 simple words that Nathan's helped us to do, and they are to go think bigger. Thanks so much, Nathan. Such a pleasure, man.
Okay, Justin. Thanks, buddy.
You bet.
Have a great day. Okay. Bye.